October 5th, 2014, from Comerica Park in Detroit, Michigan. It was Game 3 of the ALDS between the Baltimore Orioles and the Detroit Tigers. And what a game this was, as it was a pitching duel between David Price and Bud Norris. Price was on the mound for the Tigers, and Norris was on the mound for the O's. So Price came out in the first inning, and he would end up only facing 4 batters. He walked the second batter he faced after getting out the first batter, Martinez, to ground out. He walked Pierce, then he struck out Jones, and then he got Cruz to fly out. So he got through the top of the first with no hits and just the walk. Bud Norris then got out the first batter he saw, Kinsler, as he got him to line out, and then he walked the second batter he saw, just as did Price in the top half of the first, as he walked Hunter. And then he got the third batter to strike out, as did Price, as he got Cabrera to strike out, but then he got Victor Martinez to strike out. So after one, Norris had 2 strikeouts and Price had 1 strikeout. So now in the top of the second, Price struck out the first batter of the inning, Delman Young, and then J.J. Hardy reached on an infield single, but then Price got the next 2 batters to go down as he got Hundley and Flatterly retired. So now we were going to the bottom of the second, and Bud Norris would get J.D. Martinez to strike out, and then Avila got a double as the first hit of the game, and then Castellanos and Romaine both got out. So after 2, it was still 0-0 with just 1 hit in this game. So now in the top of the third, Price would end up getting out the first batter he faced, Scope, and then Martinez would get out on a grounder. But then Pierce would reach base on a walk for the second time in this game. This time, though, it was a hit pitch. But then Jones went down, and so that would be it for the top of the third. So now in the bottom of the third, Bud Norris would let up a leadoff single to Kelly. Then Kinsler flew out. Then Kelly stole second. Then Hunter hit into a fielder's choice, and Kelly was out at third. So now Cabrera came up, and he hit into a fielder's choice, and Hunter moved to third. But then Victor Martinez ended up popping out to end the inning. So now after 3, it was still 0-0. Now in the top of the fourth, Price would end up letting up a leadoff single to Nelson Cruz, but then Young struck out, and the next 2 batters popped out, Hardy and Hundley. So now we went to the bottom of the fourth, and Norris set the Tigers down in order. He actually struck out 2 batters in the inning. The second and third batters he faced Avila and Castellanos. So now in the top of the fifth, it was still 0-0. Price would set down the O's in order, and he struck out the last batter of the inning, Nick Martinez. So now we move to the bottom of the fifth, and Norris would end up getting Romaine to ground out, and then Kelly struck out, but he ended up safe on first because the catcher did not catch the third strike. So now Kinsler was up, and he popped out, and so did Hunter, and so we would go to the 6th inning with the score still 0-0. So now David Price would end up getting the first batter out he faced in the top of the 6th, and that was Pierce. But then Adam Jones got on base with a single. So now Nelson Cruz came up with a runner on and 1 out, and Nelson Cruz took David Price deep, as David Price made one of the few mistakes of this game, is letting this pitch sail over the plate to where Nelson Cruz crushed it to make this game 2-0 Baltimore over Detroit. Price would retire the next 2 batters, and he actually struck out J.J. Hardy to get out of the inning. But now heading to the bottom of the 6th, the Tigers were at the plate down by 2, and they would go down in order as Cabrera, Martinez, and Martinez would all ground out. So after 6, the O's were up by 2 runs over the Tigers with the score 2-0. So now in the top of the 7th, Price came back out, and he let up a leadoff single to Flaherty, and then Scope ended up grounding into a fielder's choice, and Flaherty was out at second. Scope would then steal second base, but then Martinez struck out. So now we move to the bottom of the 7th, and Halliday would end up getting out. Castellanos would walk, and Miller would come in to relieve Norris. So now Miller ended up getting Romaine to ground into a fielder's choice, and Castellanos was out at second, and Rajai Davis would come in to hit for Miller as a pinch hitter, and he popped out, and the inning came to a close. So after 7, the score was 2-0 Baltimore over Detroit. So now we move to the top of the 8th. Price still on the mound, He would end up getting the first batter, Pierce, to fly out, and then he walked Adam Jones. And then Nelson Cruz came up the bat, having hit the home run in his last at bat, but now he grounded into a fielder's choice, and Adam Jones was out at second. And then Cruz ended up getting picked off at first. So now we move to the bottom of the eighth, and the Tigers went down in order as Kinsler, Hunter, and Cabrera all grounded out. So now it was the top of the ninth inning, and Joe Nathan came in to pitch to relieve David Price, and he got the Orioles to go down in order. He actually struck out the third batter of the inning, Hundley. So now we went to the bottom of the ninth, as the Detroit Tigers had 3 outs left in their playoff life, or else they would be eliminated if they did not score 2 runs. Zach Britton came in to pitch for Miller, and the first batter of the inning was Victor Martinez. Martinez hit a double, and so now he was in scoring position on second base, 120 feet away from cutting the lead in half. J.D. Martinez then hit a double, as now it was 2 doubles in the inning. Victor Martinez came around to score, and it was now 2-1, as the Tigers trailed the Orioles by 1 run and still had 3 outs left in their playoff life. Holiday then struck out, and then Castellanos was intentionally walked so as to have a force out at all bases except for home. So you had a runner on first and a runner on second. Then we had a pinch hitter as Perez came in to pitch hit for Romaine, but then Perez hit into a double play. The Detroit Tigers lose this game to the Baltimore Orioles with a final score 2-1, as the Baltimore Orioles advance to the ALCS as they sweep the Detroit Tigers here in the ALDS, and the Orioles will be facing the Kansas City Royals, who would win later on in the evening. Bud Norris got the win in this game. He pitched 6 1/3 innings. He didn't allow any earned runs, and he only let up 2 hits. He had 2 bases on balls, and he had 6 strikeouts. Miller came in relief and pitched 1 2/3 innings and didn't allow any earned runs either. Zach Britton got the save. He did let up the 1 earned run in his only inning that he pitched. He did let up 2 hits, those 2 doubles, but he got a strikeout and he got the save. For the Tigers, David Price pitched 8 innings. He did get the loss, but he only let up 2 earned runs, that 1 home run to Nelson Cruz. He did let up 5 hits and 2 bases on balls, and he had 6 strikeouts. And Joe Nathan came in and got 1 strikeout in his lone inning that he pitched and didn't allow any earned runs. So the Tigers in this game only mustered 4 hits, 3 of which were for doubles, as Avila, Martinez, Victor, and JD respectively each had doubles, and Kelly had the lone single for the Tigers. So the Tigers were not able to muster much of any offense until the final half inning there in the bottom of the ninth. They got that 1 run with those back-to-back doubles. And for the Orioles, they didn't have a lot of offense either, but Nelson Cruz came through clutch when it mattered the most, as he had that 2-run shot, as he took advantage of the mistake by Price. He was 2 for 4 in this game. He had 2 RBIs on that 2-run home run, and he also crossed the plate as well, obviously. Adam Jones was 1 for 3, and he was on base when Cruz hit that home run, so he came across for the score. He also walked once in this game and was struck out once. The only other batters to get hits in this game for the Orioles were J.J. Hardy and Flaherty, who each singled. So not a lot of offense, but you don't really need much offense when your team is pitching the way the Orioles are pitching, and they were getting the efforts from their bullpen that they got. So both starting pitchers pitch excellent games, and the Orioles sweep the Tigers 2-1 as they advance to the next round of the MLB playoffs, where they will be facing the Kansas City Royals on Friday for the first game of the American League Championship Series, which will be in Baltimore.